This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Polly Robinson Brown Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we're talking with Robert Mounts and Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney, President and Executive Director at Matheson History Museum. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's a great honor to be here with you, Lizzie, and I want to thank you for your 5-year service on the board of the Matheson History Museum and for all you're doing with this podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I am honored to be able to invite you all in, and we are going to chit-chat on some of our past experiences. And I was surprised, Kaitlyn, when you just told me that I was a member since 2019. I feel like an old person. But anyway, I want you all to know, first of all, I joined, I hooked up, I connected with the Matheson Museum in 1996. Because when I started my Rosewood research, I was looking for museums and places to go to do some research and to see if you had anything in your files about Rosewood. So I connected with, what's his name? Ashley Wood, who was the historical commission at the time, and he worked out of your office. Mm-hmm. And I think Pat Bartlett was the director. But I've been around for a long time, and I'm so glad to invite you all. And I'm going to let you, ask you to speak, and it doesn't matter who starts the program, but just share with me some of the things that are going on at the Matheson Center.
Well, Lizzie, the thing we're especially excited to talk about here today is our new exhibit, Voices and Votes, which is about our American democracy.
Yes.
And it's particularly important this year, which many consider the most consequential election year in our history. And it's up now, the Alachua County part, but Kaitlyn will talk about the Smithsonian exhibit that's coming, which will be part of it after, I guess, July 20th. And we're having an opening reception then on July 20th. But what it really strikes me is how difficult it has been in our country over 200 plus years to ensure that everyone has an equal voice, and how long it took, to bring the vote to African Americans, to women, to indigenous people, how many slips and falls there have been, how many amendments to the U.S. Constitution it took, and then court decisions to enforce those decisions. And you go through this exhibit, the first half of it, frankly, if I was African American, I would be extremely concerned.
I am.
Even angry.
I am that too.
But when you realize the sacrifice that so many people have made to ensure the vote, then you cannot say my vote doesn't count.
Exactly, because if you don't vote, your vote does not count. You must vote. And I remember as a kid, my parents, they were not allowed to vote either, but they taught us the importance of voting. My mom passed in 1997. However, before she passed, she made certain every one of her grands and great-grands were registered. Now they are grown in their 60s and 70s, and they continue to carry on her legacy, her voting legacy. And their children are now voting. So that is very important, and they call me when it's almost voting time, Auntie, tell me who to vote for. I said, well, you need to read. Auntie, I don't have time to read. Please send me, okay, the names, okay, a picture. And I do that because I'd rather help them than not help, because they will not vote if they don't know, you know. So I know it's not the right thing to do, but it's my way of encouraging them to continue your vote.
You know, that's one of the things that we really want to do with this exhibit is educate people on how democracy works and make
Yes.
sure that they are engaged no matter who or what they're voting for.
Exactly.
You know, your vote is so important. And one of our partners for the exhibit is the League of Women Voters.
Yes.
And they do a wonderful job with voter education. So we actually have in the gallery a table from the League of Women Voters that has
Yes.
all sorts of resources that people can use and listing sources of information where they can go do their own research about candidates and issues, because an informed electorate is one that is really going to make an impact.
And the League of Women Voters, awesome. They recognized me in 1995. They recognized my mother. They recognized my Rosewood aunt. They gave us certificates. 1995. I have been a member of the League of Women Voters for more than 30 years. I was there when the first black president, okay, was elected. I can't remember her name. Her last name is White. And I'm thinking Keisha White. But anyway, I've been with them. I respect them. I had a birthday party for my mom years ago, and they came out to Orchard on our farm to my mom's birthday party, although we had eating, but I've been with them. I am glad they are there. That's a very viable committee
Yes,
to be a
they've,
member of.
they've been a wonderful partner for this exhibit.
Yes, yes.
And we've also partnered with Kim Barton, our supervisor of elections.
Yes.
She is also incredible. I'm always so impressed with her office and the outreach that they do. And they actually let us go into their archives and borrow things for the exhibit. So we have on display from the supervisor of elections an Alachua County 2000 general election ballot.
Yes.
We've got a punch voting machine. We've got a voter registration book from the 1930s. All sorts of cool things from the supervisor of elections office.
Now, when are you going to put her picture up?
Well,
Oh.
her picture should be there. There is a panel that discusses how hard she worked during
Yes.
the last election. And I happened to be, during the midterms 2 years ago, an observer of the canvassing board.
Yes.
And at that time, I was also writing a column monthly in the Gainesville Sun.
Okay.
And it was about how well things were run.
Yes.
You know, there were observers from all parties there. And it all ran very smoothly. And so I give a lot of credit to our local supervisor of elections and the whole office, the whole team. And they're slammed right now just getting ready.
I just want to see her picture, because if we bring a group of black kids there, okay, on a tour, they need to see that there is a black supervisor of election in Alachua County and in your office. So that's one of my concerns, because I have been active with Beverly Hill, ever since she's been there. I knew Pam Carpenter, and I worked with them. I've been out there working. Anything I can do and have done all of my life, I have been there. And I want you to know, back in, I have a certificate of my grandfather in 1890. He voted he and his father with Josiah T. Walls, because Josiah T. Walls taught in Archer, my hometown, and lived there. He taught men that did not have a degree, he taught them how to read, and they taught the other people how to read. So we have been in the business of marketing voting for a long time, and that's my concern about Kim. I just want to see her lovely face.
Well, one thing with that is she does have opposition. So she is a
Okay, I
candidate,
see.
and we're a nonprofit, so we
Okay,
have to be fair.
I understand. Now you just explained it to me,
Yeah.
because I am a nonprofit and I have to protect my status. Although I am supporting an individual, but that's Lizzie. Okay, that's not my foundation. Okay,
But
I hear you.
We are, it's not currently confirmed,
Okay.
but we're going back and forth with her office right now, looking for a date. So probably sometime in September, we hope to have her come and do a presentation at the museum,
Okay.
all about the incredible work that her office does,
Okay.
elections, the way that they work, security. all of those really important things that she does. So we're hoping to have that at the museum in September.
And she's confirmed that she is coming to our opening reception on July 20th, 2 o'clock, which everyone is invited to.
Okay, and thank you for explaining that. I hadn't thought of that, but that's clarity for me and for all the people that's listening. That makes sense.
Well,
I
in
appreciate it.
Alachua County and in Florida as a whole, we've had both parties in charge. I used to
Right.
work for a Democratic governor, Reuben Askew, a long time ago. But the last 24 years, it's been Republican.
Yes,
And we have a Republican state senator, Keith
Yes.
Perry, who is retiring.
yes.
So we also
Have
have
to
the
be
Chestnut
careful.
family, featured. And
Right.
she's not running. She's running, but she didn't have opposition. So Cynthia Chestnut's picture, you'll see that. You'll see her husband, Charles Chestnut, who was a real leader in the community.
The
And,
real history maker,
yeah.
Charles Chestnut.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's these local stories that bring human interest into the whole
Exactly.
thing.
Yes, I appreciate it. Y'all have done an outstanding job. I don't know, I think I stayed about an hour. I was trying to read everything. I took pictures. Wonderful. And I want the audience to hear, if you haven't been there to observe and digest what what are they called? The posters, and that's not what I'm trying to
Panels.
the panels, exactly.
Yeah.
You need to take your children. This is education. It's important. It's this time of season that we need to go. Voting is on August 20th, and voting is also again November 5th.
November
5th. Okay, so get it together. If you are not registered, get registered. Don't tell us, oh, my Lord. Doesn't count. If you don't, it doesn't. And I can speak for myself. My ancestors died, okay, because they could not vote. For the right for you to vote. So get up off that sofa, okay, put on some shoes, and go down to the supervisor of the election and vote. Or call them. They will send you a ballot, won't they? Or will they? If not, call 374-352-374-5252. Get involved. Get involved. I'm 85. I'm still voting. I have voted 59 times, I believe, never missed even if one person was on the ballot. Get out and express.
One of the
yourself.
popular ways to vote is by mail.
Thank
And
you.
they'll send you a mail-in ballot. It used to be called absentee ballot, which when I was overseas with the military, I would use that. But today, many people, if not a majority, are voting by mail. But, we were wondering after, Jeffrey Meldon of Meldon Law sponsored the last exhibit about the Great Southern Music Hall, and what a tremendous contribution to the community that was. And we were thinking, how can we take it down? What are we going to replace it with? But they've done a marvelous job putting it up, something of great public interest in an election year of putting together this exhibit. And I was frankly shocked when I saw it.
I know, so was I. It's awesome. It's awesome. And yes, I am going back, okay? And I advise you all to go back.
And if you want to visit, we're open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 4, totally free. And while the Smithsonian exhibit is here, July 20th to September 7th, we are going to be running family activities every single day that we're open at 3 p.m. So we encourage you to bring your family, stop by. If you have a summer camp, we'd love to have some field trips. We just want to get every single person in Alachua County to come see this exhibit.
You had a group there last week.
We did. We had a really great group of third graders from Girls Place. We had a great time with them.
Wonderful, wonderful. They need to be there. And all of these other groups that we have here, you need to, okay, make sure you take the kids there to see history. Okay.
Yes, we had an excellent voting activity and learned that dolphin was that particular group's favorite animal.
Okay. All right. Okay. It's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida
and
and
America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Robert Mounts and Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Special thanks to Greg Bradley, Allstate Insurance. Okay, we ended on a good note talking about voting, and I think that's very positive, that's very interesting, and that is needed, especially this year, as Robert Mounts indicated. It is important that we vote. But let me tell you about the Queen Lizzie Podcast. I am asked the question very often, Liz, how do you manage to be on the Steve Spurrier, on the Queen Lizzie Podcast? How do you manage to get into that office? This office space belongs to Steve Spurrier. It is part of the restaurant, okay? However, they support the Queen Lizzie Podcast because they trust what I am doing. They support my truth. And I'm happy to say that I tell the truth about Rosewood, okay? And the truth is what my mom instilled in me. Do your research about Rosewood, authenticate it, tell the truth, never attack anyone, because the people today did not create Rosewood. And these 3 men, Freddie Wiebe, Jeffrey Meldon, and Steve Spurrier, believe in me, and they trust me. And I have to share this with you because it is important. That's why I was elected or asked to do a podcast, because I'm going to bring you my truth. And they work extremely hard with me. I also want you to know that if you want to donate to the Real Rosewood Foundation Museum that is coming maybe 26, 25, go to www.rosewoodflorida.com. That's Rosewood, Florida.com, and make your donation. We also have a scholarship in the name of the Rosewood school teacher. You may leave a donation there. Okay? And back to Robert Mounts.
You know, I'm a retired attorney, and because of that, I've always had an interest in constitutional law, and a lot of people don't realize that our Constitution did not guarantee the right to vote. It doesn't really say anything about it. The Declaration of Independence said all men are created equal,
Yes.
all of that. My old political science professor, Dr. Ernest R. Bartley, used to joke in class at UF, all men are equal, but some are more equal than others. And today we would say all people are equal. But, we have an amendment process to the U.S. Constitution. It's very difficult. It requires a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress, and then ratification by 3/4 of the states. So it's not easy to get a constitutional amendment passed. But the 15th Amendment gave African American men the right to vote in 1870. It was hard to enforce. There was all kinds of, opposition and voter suppression to it, including the poll tax. The 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, gave American women the right to vote. The 24th Amendment ratified in 1964, eliminated the poll tax, but then it still took 2 Supreme Court cases in the mid-60s to say, look, we really meant it. We're not going to impose a financial burden on anyone who's poor just to have the right to vote. And to think how long we've struggled with this, how many ups and downs there have been, it's amazing. It's important history, though, for all of us.
You just educated me. I was wondering when were men of color eligible to vote. You just educated me. I know my grandfather voted in 1890, and you just said it was ratified or passed in 1870.
Yeah, it was 1870.
Yes, yes. So I'm glad to know that information.
But many weren't able to exercise that right then because some states passed literary tests and they passed the poll tax as to keep people who were poor, particularly, or not well read from voting.
Yes, well, he was well read because he taught himself to read.
And back in the day when we became a country, it was white men with property.
Exactly.
Period. That was it.
Well, he had property too. And we still have that property that he said, don't sell.
40 horses and a mule?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever. But anyways, we still own that property. I was glad to hear that report.
And then the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was very important. And we're still arguing over the Voting Rights Act and whether it will survive or not, and how important it is. But it was really to say, look, we really mean it. Just like after Brown versus Board of Education to desegregate schools, it took until 1970 before schools were desegregated in Alachua County.
Exactly. I remember when. Okay, I lived through it. I was a teacher then, but I lived through it. I remember it. But anyway, we have come a long ways. We got a long ways to go. And something else I was going to say. Don't remember, Kaitlyn, would you like to input at this time? Anything?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that going off of what Bob was talking about, that is one of the themes that is explored in the Smithsonian exhibit, is looking at who is we the people and how has that expanded over the years, because democracy has always been kind of an experiment and we've been figuring it out and changing it as we go. So that is one of the things that both the Smithsonian exhibit and our Alachua County exhibit is looking at, who has the right to vote, what challenges are being put in their way, and just the way that things have evolved over the past 200 plus years.
And our democracy, and this is my personal opinion, is at risk if we don't get out and vote. Okay? Turn back the hands of time. Back. So it's important that we vote. I like the word democracy. We need to maintain our intellect. Intellect is probably the wrong question, but where I am going, we just need to get out and vote, okay?
Absolutely.
To keep our democracy intact.
Well, without getting too political.
I know. I didn't want to.
Can't help it. The U.S. Supreme Court's decision last week in Donald Trump versus United States gave the president, and only the president, absolute immunity for any official core act. And that includes the pardon power, it includes supervision over the Department of Justice, and a range of other things that are yet to be determined. And, we're a republic, but we're also under the rule of law. And up to now, we believe that no one is above the law.
Exactly.
And it's probably going to take another constitutional amendment to reassert that principle and to ensure that even the President of the United States is subject to the law, the criminal law of the United States. And that's critical. That affects how you vote, who you vote for, who supports that principle, who believes it, who lives it.
Exactly. And you all better hear it. You better hear us, hear it. Please vote, register. Absentee or by mail, vote by mail. It really doesn't matter. Just get your vote out there.
Yeah, and by the way, the deadline to register to vote or to update your party affiliation is July 22nd. No, July 22nd, to be able to vote in the primary that's August 20th.
Okay.
And then for the general election, the deadline to register to vote is October 7th. So
Okay.
those are important deadlines, and college students can register to vote in this county as long as they've been here at least 6 months.
Exactly, and the number again is 352-374-5252. What I am trying to do are the college students, especially our sports, our teams. It's really difficult for them to vote because some of them are leaving home, coming to a new, location, birthdays, dates are probably changing during transition. I would like for us to be able to go to the campus, to the University of Florida campus, and set up a location for our students to vote. And I'm going to talk to no?
The Rights Union is a precinct voting place.
Okay, then we need to make sure that the kids are voting, because there are some kids out there that do not have time or don't take the time to vote. And I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
because
what's
I didn't know
confusing
that.
is that they don't know if they can vote here or if they have to vote in their home county.
Exactly.
But if you've been here, my understanding, if you've been here in Gainesville at least 6 months, you can change your voting location and vote here in Alachua County. Or you can vote by mail at home. As long as you've submitted that request, which is easy to do with Supervisor of Elections office, either online or by phone. You can request a vote by mail ballot.
But who's educating them? Who's reminding them? Okay, that's what I'm saying. But
Well, I think
yeah,
Kim Barton is doing a good job at that, but
Okay,
she
good.
needs everybody's help, and of course,
Exactly.
the media needs to be part of it.
Exactly. And she is doing an outstanding job.
And the purpose of this Matheson exhibit is to remind people how important it is, and through the League of Women Voters to help people register, and help people know where to vote.
And I know they are listening. If not, they are going to listen, hopefully, to our report about voting, the importance of voting. And anything else?
Well, one other
Kaitlyn.
thing I hope this country will consider in the future is doing away with the Electoral College, because right now, if you're not in a swing state, people say, oh, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't really matter. But the popular vote does count. It may not be the final count in the Electoral College, the 271 votes that a national candidate needs, but I do think that we're going to have that discussion in future years.
Okay.
And there may be another constitutional amendment which gives at least proportional vote to every state, so that not all the delegates go to one winner-take-all candidate. So I would support that. That's nonpartisan.
Okay.
I think we might be reaching the end of our time, am I
Yes.
right? So I'm going to put in one last plug.
Sure.
Come visit us. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 4, totally free. Family activities every day at 3 p.m. Bring your kids, bring your family, bring your grandparents. Everybody should come see this exhibit, and don't forget to vote.
And who are our sponsors?
And we are delighted to partner with the League of Women Voters of Alachua County and the Alachua County Supervisor of Elections. And the exhibit is sponsored in a partnership between Florida Humanities and the Smithsonian Institution, as well as additional support from Visit Gainesville, Alachua County, the State of Florida Division of Cultural Affairs, and the City of Gainesville.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lizzie.
And
So
thank
much.
you. And thank you. You are welcome. You are very welcome. I have enjoyed our meeting. Round table. Okay. I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, this is my Rosewood story, and I'm sticking to it. Goodbye.
That's a wrap.